Oops, wait a minute.
The profile picture there, Virginia.
Thank you. There we go. We should be good.
Yeah, we're gonna have Mary Claire, Kevin. Janine,
Oh,
and-
Joe O'Brien is going to be joining us via Zoom. So,
Good, okay.
yeah, no, Mary Claire and Kevin are not available. So Joe O'Brien will be
Okay.
joining us. He's got the packet and he's going to follow along. He just hasn't clicked in yet. Yeah, I don't have a waiting room, so he'll be live once he does.
Okay. No problem, well then we're ready to start.
Yeah.
Good evening and welcome to the Borough Council special meeting, November 29th, 2023 at 7 p.m. In attendance, we have Ms. Lopez.
Present.
Ms. Simrel.
Present.
Ms. Kehoe.
Here.
Mr. Beston.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mayor Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. Shields.
Here.
And Solicitor Hayes is absent. The first item on our agenda is our public comment. Do we have anyone who would like to address council? Or you're on our agenda, I believe, right?
I am.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
And
The first ordinance 2023-01 is our Lansdowne turntable. Or a turn ordinance.
There's one. Yeah, sorry. Yes, I asked Sue Savitsky to join us. She's the engineer that did the traffic study last summer and again this month, so that she can address the copy that was sent to you today and answer any questions.
Yes, did everybody get a chance to read through it?
Yeah.
Okay, the overall recommendations that came out of this study, and a lot of it was based on the fact that the
Joe O'Brien joining meeting.
Hi, Joe. Thank you.
How are you?
Started.
Pardon?
was because I went there during the morning hours and tried to observe what kind of gaps actually happen out there on Route 6 that the vehicles can exit, and there was a significant exit. I mean, there were sometimes there weren't a lot of lefts out of that, even for that time of the morning, when you would think people would be traveling, down to Scranton or where else they may be working. Because overall, I think over the 2-hour period, there was only 20 vehicles that turned left.
Yeah.
So obviously, the residents are finding another way of getting down to that area. That probably heading up to South Abington because the traffic isn't quite as significant. Having to cross 2 lanes and merge onto 2 lanes, to proceed.
Lou, can you speak a little louder so they can hear you?
Okay.
On there?
All right,
Joe,
can you hear me?
I hear everybody perfectly.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, so,
Hear everybody.
and the wait times, they varied, but there was one vehicle in particular, but she was carrying school students and she waited a long time. But she was probably more cautious than
But she was
most.
turning left.
Yeah, she was turning left. Yeah, so, probably just because of the circumstances of her, driver tendencies vary. There's people that pulled up and they were off, but there were people that really waited. And then, but the thing that happened during the noon hour was backups from Grove Street blocked that intersection again, and it did for about 13 minutes.
On the hill.
Yeah. And that was sort of an eye opener for me. I really didn't expect that to happen.
What day of the week was it?
It was a Friday.
Oh, okay.
It was a Friday.
Yeah.
And it was a Friday this time of year. Now, I know during the summer months, it gets more congested, as people are traveling and the tourists are coming.
Thursdays I've noticed too, it's starting.
Yes,
Yeah.
so with that in mind, that's basically why I'm sort of online with what PennDOT's requesting, is that they get restricted, all day long. So where do these cars go then? Is the next question. Where do they go? How do they get out? And, I looked at the site distances up on South Abington Road, and they're not great.
No.
They're just not. And so the criteria for a side road warning sign is either it's a high volume of vehicles coming out or it's restricted sight distance. And we do fall in that category. So that means going back to PennDOT and asking them to take a look at this. We're gonna have vehicles that can't turn left down here that will be coming up and turning right. That maybe we should just request them to take a look at it and see if we can do that. I mean, there's some other really extreme things that we could do. And one would be make that first block of Lansdale of Abington a one-way in and force vehicles to come out park or Shoreville. But
There's
that,
That would
so
probably
few
be the safest.
cars.
yeah,
Yeah, the best thing, I mean, regardless, based on the study results, we need to contact PennDOT and
Mhm.
get them to address the line of sight on those roads. Because
Yeah.
regardless of whether people are turning left off of Lansdowne or going up on South Abington, there's still clearly an issue with that intersection.
yeah.
So, yeah, so, and that's a state road, so I will reach out to PennDOT. And
Mm.
also part of the problem with visibility on that is the guardrail. That is the state's guardrail, so, they're kind of their own problem there. So I'll work with them on that regardless.
So this is South Abington Road. here.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it-
that's just up at the other
Then,
end.
or is the decision gonna be made, when we're reading this, is it gonna be made next Wednesday or?
It is eligible to be voted on next Wednesday.
And the reason I'm here is just for this issue, I live in the neighborhood, I've
Do
been
you?
here for 20 years.
Mhm.
And I've, is it okay if I speak?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm taking a,
Give us your name.
yeah, my name is Rick Dewey, I live on 905 Poplar Street, and I've lived there for just over 20 years. I've taken a left-hand turn there conservatively, I was, in my mind going through it at least 3,000 times. I've taken that left-hand turn. For me, it's very convenient during certain times of the day. To your point, in the morning, late at night,
Mhm.
that's the avenue I'll take to get over to the businesses in town. If it's after 5 o'clock, it backs up from Grove Street. I mean, I could go down there, but I'd have to wait 3,
So
4,
which
5,
way-
6 minutes to
Which way do you get out then?
get out. I go up the top of Lansdowne, but to your point, that's very restricted. That's almost as dangerous turning right there. To get out. If you're not, and interestingly enough, I've got a daughter who's taking her driver's test next Tuesday. I don't let her go up Lansdowne and take the right. I've let her take a left on the bottom of Lansdowne at certain hours of the day, simply because we could see both ways clearly that no cars are coming to take the left. So, I'm here to and I've spoken to some of my neighbors. I'm of the opinion, and I know I can't tell PennDOT what to do or tell the council, the borough what to do, but is there not an opportunity to limit the times where you can turn left during the times of the day? Peak hours, 4 to 6.
That's where we started.
That's where we
And
started.
PennDOT told us we can't do that.
Right.
And
We
but-
said 3 to 6,
And I gave that some thought, but I mean, I see restrictions from PennDOT at other intersections, certain times of the day. So, I mean, restricted speeds, going through school zones, no right on red during certain times of the day. So I'm just curious as to why PennDOT would have taken that position to say, no, it's got to be either all or nothing. I mean, for me, that would be a major inconvenience, not being able to get to businesses in town or get on my way to wherever I'd like to go, throughout the day. But personally, for me, I've taken that turn minimum 3,000 times, and I've never come close to an accident. I did read that there's been 11 accidents over the last, I think, 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like the intersection, the South Abington 611 intersection with the lights, how many accidents have been there?
That I don't.
Yeah, because I've seen at least 4 or 5 in the
But see,
last.
that's not our concern,
Oh, no,
because
no.
it's South Abington.
South Avenue, yeah, I'm just
So,
saying,
like, we don't really have much favor towards that part. Like, we're concerned more about
Yeah.
Clark Summit's.
well, as a resident there, I mean, it would be a major inconvenience. I mean, I know it'd be an inconvenience to most of my neighbors. I was speaking to my wife and I said, you know what? I don't even go down there from after 4 o'clock till like 6 o'clock because it's impossible to
You
make
know.
a left-hand turn. I
Yeah.
know. So I go,
Yeah.
I either go up to Grove Street past the pit or up to South Abington. But either direction, I would argue that the top of Lansdowne taking a right onto South Abington is as dangerous, if not more dangerous than the left-hand turn. And so I just like the council to give some consideration to the residents there and not plead with PennDOT, but I would ask PennDOT the rationale as to why there wouldn't be a restricted time where you can make the left.
Well, also, I have also received a lot of calls on this from residents down there. And they feel that they, more than yourself, are very conscientious when they're pulling out. They know when they can, when they can. And I mean, it may be people from Clark's Green that figure they're taking a shortcut down and heading out, and then they get an
Yeah,
accident.
I can't speak, but I mean, it's a left,
Yeah.
it's a left-hand turn, it's busy at certain times, so you have to be diligent about when you make that.
That's exactly what they had emphasized also. They said that they know the good times, the bad times. And they were in hopes that we just, at that point, would not put anything, let it just continue. I spoke with our solicitor, and there is no liability against the borough. If they don't. So that's.
But
what
you
we
said that
wanted to-
before, he did not know that PennDOT had already been brought into the conversation when you had that discussion with him. When I followed up with him, he said, I didn't know the background when I gave that comment. And he pulled that comment back.
Yeah, but the thing too is.
But that's what Joe O'Brien has studied up on this so that he could address the legality of the situation.
Okay, yeah.
Joe, do you want to give us your call there?
Yeah, there's a statute in Pennsylvania, and it's called the Political Subdivision Tort Claims Act. And that statute sets forth the circumstances under which a local government can be liable for damages to another party. When that statute was originally passed 50 years ago, the courts interpreted it. Statutes are never clear, but the courts interpreted it to say that a local government could not be liable for failure to put control signs at intersections. They can only be liable for negligently maintaining them. Now that was the law for many years, but my research indicates that law is changing, and that there are now circumstances. The courts are much more open to creating liability on behalf of the municipality in these cases. It's not wide open, but the courts are looking at this much more carefully. There are about 4 recent cases that I found, all of which held that the a municipality could be liable under these circumstances. And I could just give me a second to summarize them. I have a little note here. Let me get my better glasses and I'll read my note. And so it says, first of all, what the courts look at is they look at the roadway leading into the highway as a municipal roadway. So they consider the intersection part of the municipal roadway. And it says a municipality's duty to maintain its roadways free of dangerous conditions may include a duty to install an appropriate traffic control device, where to do so would alleviate a known dangerous condition. So it's a tough standard, but it's not no liability standard. To establish a municipal duty of care related to the installation of the traffic control device, a plaintiff must demonstrate 3 things. Number 1, the municipality had actual or constructive notice of the dangerous condition that caused the plaintiff's injuries. Number 2, the device would have constituted an appropriate remedial measure to eliminate the dangerous condition. And 3, the municipality had authority to install that device. In this case, if you're looking at the traffic reports and the information that's come to the township, I think you could make an argument. A good lawyer, and there are lots of them around, could make a pretty good argument that the municipality had notice of the dangerous condition that might result if somebody was able to make a left turn from that roadway. And stopping left turns would clearly have been something that might eliminate that dangerous condition. And we're consulting with PennDOT. PennDOT's already talking about approving one type or another of a traffic control device. So these are new cases. There are about 4 of them, and they represent a change in the law. They're not fully developed yet, but I can see reading them. You can see the law changing. So I would just say this: it's not the lawyer's job to tell you what to do, but I would say that you are in a potential liability situation here. I believe there's already a stop sign there, so you're already regulating it, and you're able to do it. And you could argue that it's dangerous to make a left-hand turn there, and stopping left-hand turns eliminate that dangerous condition. So I think you're in a situation here, and I just study it very, very carefully. Study it very, very carefully, and whichever way you go, if you decide not to do it, document your reasons. Document your reasons, because there is a potential. Now, this is liability for which you're insured. The maximum liability you can have in this type of case is $500,000 for if no matter how many injuries there are in any particular accident, and your insurance fully covers it. So it's and there's no personal liability of any municipal official. So those are things to keep in mind also. But I was surprised to find this because, I was around when this law was passed, and I was familiar with the initial interpretations that said the failure to put a traffic control device doesn't make a municipality liable. It's only if they put one in and negligent maintain it. And but this new case law, which applies in most of the cases involving it, are local streets leading into state highways. So I would be I'd be very careful about this. And if you make a decision, make sure that there's a documentation, maybe a memo that solicitor or somebody can help you prepare. It would be in the file, give you reasons. But again, I should also note, no township official is personally liable, no personal liability. There would be a maximum of $500,000 liability for any accident, but it would be the borough only, and your insurance fully covers it.
Also on this,
Realize that's a mouthful, but it was interesting doing the work to get to that.
also on this, if we decided not to enforce the no left turn 24/7 and install a sign, caution, in a dangerous intersection, or whatever would be applicable to that, so that the driver would be liable because they were notified that is that
That's
another?
a very good point. You're talking here about under what circumstances could a jury conclude that the township was negligent and caused this accident? Now, they're all these questions are all very, very fact sensitive. The fact that you might have a stop sign there, the fact that you have a sign there that says "Be careful" for the traffic coming left, caution. They would be all circumstances where the township could argue that you did take appropriate steps to avoid these accidents. Those appropriate steps would have been a stop sign and a warning sign. But again, what you'd have, you'd be in a situation where especially if you had a serious injury, you'd have some big time claimant's attorney. He'd be arguing that you didn't take appropriate measures, and you argue you did. I mean, but that's what I mean when I say you're in a liability situation. You're in a situation that, depending on the unique facts of any case, a jury could conclude. But certainly, the point that was that you made that point, Jerry. I think it was you who made that point. Certainly, those would be factors that would be very much in the borough's favor if litigation were to ensue.
And if we were to move forward with the no left turn, and would we have a liability at the top of Layton Road?
Lansdowne.
Or Lansdowne, I mean, and Maple, because those are very bad intersections, and that's also a state road that comes through there too.
Well, you have the same issue there. Is it a left turn issue?
No, it's,
That's a right turn.
it would be a right turn, but there's limited visibility. The state, this, it's not to the state standards, the visibility. So the engineer was talking about getting PennDOT to change their signage to put warnings up on the road. But there is limit.
Facts, depending on the facts, these roadways, local roadways leading into busy state highways, they can be a liability situation depending on the facts. Under the new case law, you're not automatically immune. There could be liability under all three examples you made, this one and the other two, and it will just depend on the facts. And certainly, one of the big things is, did you take remedial measures to prevent this accident? Warning signs and stop signs and things like that, they are remedial measures.
So just
That's
because we
encouraging.
put a no left turn at Lansdowne and State Street, does that mean that we're gonna be liable for the intersection at Lansdowne and South Abington or Maple and South Abington? Is that what you're saying, Joe?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that all, if you're gonna get, if you have, suppose somebody's coming out there and they have an accident,
Right.
that after you put a sign in at Lansdowne, a lawyer's this is something like that will be very much investigated, and all the facts get thrown into the hopper. And the jury would decide whether or not the intersection was dangerous, whether or not you did enough to prevent the type of accident. You did everything you could do. So, there are 2 million lawyers in America, and this is a good reason why. This shows you why, because a good lawyer can make chicken salad out of what when it comes to a lawsuit. And so you have to look at all of.
You're liable because we changed the intersection at Lansdowne and State for something that happened at Lansdowne and South Abington or Maple and South Abington, are we?
Well, it doesn't sound logical, but I can tell you right now, if you had a Lansdowne and State, if you had a major accident, you had a couple people killed, there are going to be some big lawyers looking at it, and they're going to be looking at these new cases, and especially they're going to say they're going to be really questioning what they did. It's the cost of doing business. It's the cost of doing business. When you have you in this litigious society, unless you're immune from suit, like you were previously for traffic control devices, you got problems. You got your good lawyers they can make a case out of almost anything. In all the circumstances, you can make an argument on both sides.
If I could ask Sue a question, PennDOT has said that they want a 24/7 no left turn.
Right.
If we disregard that and put up a sign that is not approved by PennDOT, what could happen to us? How would that
Again,
impact?
Liability situation, or our big plaintiff's attorney would say, you were warned by PennDOT. PennDOT is responsible for the road. They warned you to make it no left turn 24/7. You ignored that warning, and poor Mrs. Smith was killed. That's what you run against. And so again, you're in a lot. When I say, all I can tell you is you are moving into an area where there is potential liability, and you should carefully consider your decision. And but you got to understand that the most important thing to avoid liability is get insurance, and you've done that. And you have the liability is only limited, to $500,000, and you're fully insured. And nobody sitting in this room is liable because there's no individual liability. But this is the intersections, especially those between a local road and a state road, especially if you already have a stop sign up there. You're in an area where a good lawyer can make a case. A good lawyer can refute that case too. But
So
so
basically,
that's
we're damned if we do, damned if we don't.
well, yeah. The way you deal with that situation, the way it's very tough to get into a situation where you have immunity. You used to have immunity for this. When this law was passed, the initial interpretation of the court said the municipality is not liable no matter what happens.
Yeah.
They're changing. That's changing. So I don't know if you call it a damned if you do, damned if you don't. what you do is you investigate, you try to make the right decision, you document the fact that you were careful about it. If you ignore what PennDOT tells you, you could be in trouble, and you get appropriate insurance. Because
I
the
just think we're needing to choose the
Live-
least of several not great options.
I agree with you.
No,
Yeah,
that's
let me say that,
whenever the end result is a potential litigation, they're not, neither option is good. But that's the risk of being alive in the 21st century, is that you're gonna get sued.
First off, dangerous intersection signs are not an approved
Mhm.
Right,
traffic control device.
exactly, yeah.
Because you're basically admitting that there's something
Yeah.
that's not right there, so it puts you in that window there of knowing. The other thing is if we do move ahead with the restriction and we pursue action with PennDOT up at the other end of Lansdowne at South Abington, and even with Joe with putting up, like, if eventually they put up warning signs to notify the motorist on Abington Road of the intersection of Lansdowne, is that like due diligence for the
Well, it's
for
certainly,
Clark Summit as far as trying to make motorists aware of the situation there?
what the law says is, if there's a condition that's potentially dangerous, you have to take appropriate remedial measures. Putting a sign up there warning, that's a pretty good remedial measure. It's telling the guy pulling out, hey, you might have an accident if you do it. If he ignores that, you have a good argument that the accident was his fault and not yours. But that's an argument that you're going to make in a courtroom. You're not going to solve it by passing legislation.
Mm.
I mean, what you really have here, to simplify it, you have an area where the courts have opened it up to liability suits. A sidewalk, and it's uneven. There's a potential lawsuit against you. It's again, the risk of litigation is a part of the 21st century.
Attorney O'Brien,
We're all looking for work.
one quick question though. So you said there was cases and they described a dangerous intersection or a dangerous.
Yeah, what the
road.
case says is if you're aware of a dangerous condition at an intersection, the argument here would be the dangerous condition is that under these facts, in this situation, a left-hand turn creates a danger. All of these are issues. Two lawyers, you'd have a lawyer for the claimant and a lawyer for the township. They'd fight this out for a week before the jury in the court, and the jury decide, was this dangerous? Did they take remedial measures?
In this case, I mean, this intersection, there was 11 accidents over 5 years. So it's about 2 accidents a year. I mean,
Yeah.
is that a dangerous intersection or is that just a regular intersection? I know people.
You have one.
Well, that's again, that's not for me to decide. That's for a jury to decide, not for you to decide. A jury would decide that. That's the effect of these new cases. The old cases were you were immune under these circumstances. You didn't have to worry if it was dangerous or what. You couldn't be sued for it. The new cases have opened this area up to liability, so the questions are very fact sensitive. If the township knows of 11 accidents, similar accidents over 5 years, does that give them notice of a dangerous condition or not? And that's why you have juries.
Yeah, I think, but
Again,
again, from
remember-
the case law, you can't find out just what it would be, what the court found to be a dangerous intersection or any appeals or anything like that. I mean,
No, every case on questions
every case is
like this,
different. So.
on questions, every case is different. The facts are different. It's a different roadway, a different time of day. All of the facts of the accident would come before the jury as presented by the attorneys, and the jury would decide.
Okay, thanks.
Negligence is a very fact-sensitive concept. It means, did the township act reasonably under the circumstances? And all of the facts get presented, and then the jury decides, do those facts establish reasonable action by the township or not?
Thank you, Joe.
And now just one quick question, Joe. For the residents that live in the Lansdowne area, can we, with our solicitor, sit down with the state and explain that the position this is gonna put all these residents in, number one. Number two, it's going to hamper them as far as having to go up, and it's a steep hill where you're pulling out on Abington Road. This is making a much more dangerous situation for them than it would be at the bottom of Lansdowne. And just sit down with the state and let them evaluate and see what they feel would be a good.
Well, you
direction
certainly
to
could
go
do
with
that,
it.
and you might get the state to give a different or a more nuanced recommendation to you. But all of the facts that you mentioned, Jerry, they would go before the jury. You'd be told how inconvenient it was. It's not reasonable to do it. It creates another danger going up the hill. All of those circumstances would be presented to the jury. That's why you, again, that's how the concept of negligence works. That's how it works. The jury hears all the facts and they decide whether or not the activities of the person charged were reasonable under the circumstance. If not, they can be on the hook.
So it sounds to me like the more we talk about it,
Yeah,
opening.
the more you talk about it, the more establishes your awareness of a potential,
restrict the turns, we're still live. Okay.
my only recommendation is if you decide not to do this, if you decide not to follow PennDOT, let's develop a raison d'etre, a reason, and just so you have it in your file. So if you're ever sued, you can say, we discussed this thoroughly. We talked to 2 or 3 lawyers about it. We got community input, and here was the basis for our decision. And that would again show your due diligence.
Since we've been notified from PennDOT that we need to completely restrict left-hand turns, the longer we wait to put action into that, are we liable? Because we've already been put on notice. So the longer we delay doing that, are we making ourselves susceptible to liability if an accident occurs during that time period?
Yeah. Oh, sure. I mean, again, you're in a liability situation with this roadway leading into a state roadway and a lot of traffic, especially coming down the hill, that would impede a left-hand turn. So you're in a liability situation. You have to act carefully and reasonably. All of these facts, again, nobody on this earth can answer those questions. All we can tell you is all the facts of each particular accident would be presented to a jury, and then the jury would decide whether or not the township took appropriate action.
But just like PennDOT didn't come to us and say, you have a dangerous intersection.
Right.
We went and wanted to, an abundance of caution, restrict for certain times, Monday through Friday, rush hour, like around 3 to 6 or something like that.
Yeah,
But we never went to PennDOT, and then PennDOT came back to us after we advertised it and we were gonna do this and said, you can't do that because you need to come to us first. And then they said, if either you restrict it all the time or none of the time, but they never came to us and said, you have a dangerous intersection, correct?
No, but I think the fact that you went to them shows that you had concerns. I mean, the question, did you have notice of a dangerous condition? The jury, on the basis of what you just told me, the jury could say, we think there's a dangerous condition, and they had notice of it because they went to PennDOT and asked a lot of good questions. So the question, just the fact of life is, this is in the old days, it was a situation of immunity. The initial case law that came out under this statute was immunity. It is no longer that way. You are in a potential liability situation. And so you have to decide, you have to balance all the factors and then decide.
Joe,
Yeah.
This whole thing started when a resident sent a letter to the borough. And it got in the minutes that resident claimed that, it was a dangerous situation. We had a study done. And that from that point on, it just took off. And that's said you're not making any changes with 3 to 6 or anything else. You're going to shut it down.
But is that, did they tell us to shut it down, or did they just tell us we had to make a choice?
No, PennDOT said, when we went to them and said, we want to put up the sign for 3 hours, they said, no.
Yeah.
They didn't
They just,
say that I had the option of opting out. They said that the only sign that they would approve is 24/7.
okay, but that would be up to the town, the borough or the municipality to approve it.
Right.
When a local road meets a state road and you're changing any kind of movements on that approach, PennDOT has to approve that.
So if
And
we only
that's-
did the
that's-
3 hours,
Yeah, we did it.
It has to be
we-
approved by
we-
them.
We, you know,
But-
sent them a letter saying with this original study that was done, saying we're gonna restrict left turns. Because out of the 11 accidents, what was it? 9 of them occurred between 3 and 6. No, or 8 of them occurred between 3 and 6. 2 of them actually occurred over the noon hour when the intersection was blocked. And there was one that occurred during a different time of the day.
Is there an
So it's
opportunity to
not-
revisit it with PennDOT to talk about why are you saying all or nothing?
Yeah.
At 9 o'clock at night, I can
Right,
take my son over to Brown's gym and make a straight shot.
there's
There's
gaps,
no cars
there's gaps between how the signals operate that, you know, you can make a left.
I think though that we have a situation where we have established that there is in Joe's term, a known dangerous condition here that we have to do something about it. What we've now come to understand is that we can't do exactly what we'd like to do about it. We're concerned that we're gonna create another dangerous condition, but we haven't established factually that other dangerous condition is worse than the one we're dealing with. And even if we do establish that the next dangerous condition is bad, that doesn't mean we shouldn't deal with A and then also deal with B. I think we are kind of stuck here having to deal with the fact that we've established we have a dangerous condition. And respect, like I hear you, Rick, but we can't make a decision based on the convenience of residents. We have to make it based on safety and we have to make it based on.
I'm just here as a resident, there, just I wanted to hear what the position of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at right now is we have a known dangerous condition. It may not be the ideal solution, what we have before us, but it is a solution to mitigate the problem that we've identified. If we then need to further study what needs to be done about the next dangerous condition that we're also creating, we should do that. I think the other thing though that I took away from your study is actually the volume of cars that would be diverted is not as high as I might have expected it to be. It's actually quite
Because I
low.
think the residents know not to.
Yeah, I'm like,
No, exactly.
my wife will never go down there.
I mean, because when you look at the number of homes there in
Exactly.
the morning
Would-
hour,
Do they know of the 11 accidents? Are any of them residents? Because I'm not aware of any.
there were
accidents.
11 accidents and they were all left turns coming out of that.
That's all we know.
But we
There
didn't
would be
know.
no reason to know.
And the
where-
last, last one was the most serious.
Yeah, I appreciate you listening.
And
to
it
me.
wasn't a
The only
resident.
thing I'll plan with the danger on the top of Lansdowne, getting on South Abington is during the rush hour, there's an inordinate amount of cars that turn right when Grove Street backs up. And they come flying through Lansdowne, this is
Oh, yeah.
them getting off, they fly through that stop sign. You've got a liability issue there potentially. Is there an opportunity? I've seen signs where restricted volume at certain times through neighborhoods for only local residents. I mean, that's one way as well to try to restrict volume coming up.
Something like that we could do in-house because we're not
In-house,
dealing with.
Yeah, well, that's
No,
kind
it
of what
is
I.
beyond the PennDOT. If we were banning right turns off of State Street.
Well,
we'd have to
limit them.
Well, that's.
If we
that's kind of
limited
what
it,
I-
though, we'd have to put signage on State Street.
Oh, on
We
State
couldn't do that
Street,
without State
Well,
Street.
I appreciate you.
Where I'm going, it was clear that this is a neighborhood that's difficult to get out of. That's just my thing.
Yeah.
So I think we have to deal with that in its entirety. This is one spot that is particularly dangerous and the facts have established that. I mean, the number of accidents, I think, really, Bob, I think what I heard between the lines of what you were asking is how does that compare to any other intersection? It's 11 accidents. Is that high? Is that low? Is that normal? But nevertheless, I think factually we've established that this is a dangerous intersection. We have to do something about that.
Yep.
But in general, we need to look at that whole neighborhood and figure out how do we safely get residents out of there at all times of the day and protect them and ourselves as best we can. Because it's a problem.
I don't know if I would, I mean, I've got to drive to Philadelphia, I'm going on the Schuylkill Expressway tomorrow. I feel that's
That's a
a
dangerous-
dangerous
Yeah.
intersection. I'm not sure if this
Yeah, it
is,
is.
this doesn't strike me as being overly dangerous, particularly for the residents who know what they're doing, so.
Would you think a recommendation at this point now would be for us to sit down with the state, with our borough engineer, Sue, and any council member that could be, to meet with them, explain exactly what our situation is if we do it the one way, or if we're creating another problem, which we have a study on it from our borough engineer, that there's 2 that are very dangerous, and also Linden's, going out Linden Street. So these are things I think that if we sat down with them and maybe then we might be able to come up with a resolution where
Yeah, they might make us put a traffic light in, and that's gonna cost over $100,000.
they will not put a traffic light because they have one.
Exactly, every intersection, they're putting up lights in that road.
I'd like
Just
to
so
move,
we know. And Joe did confirm, we are putting ourselves in liability because we've been put on notice by PennDOT.
I'd like to move this forward on the agenda for next week and we'll vote on it one way or the other.
Well, I
Because
think,
otherwise
I
we'll
think
be
we
here
should
for
sit
2
down with the
hours
state
just
first.
talking
Dave,
about
and
this.
let-
Well, I think we need to vote on it. If we don't pass it, that's one thing. If we pass it, well, then we'll take action.
Do you think PennDOT?
We're
Here's the
forced into
question.
taking the
Here's the
action.
question.
They would.
How many people here think that there's a chance that between now and next week, they're gonna change their mind?
They won't. They won't.
No.
They've
I think
been
the
doing that
important-
for years.
we have to
They
get
don't
reasons.
change.
I can take a look at the accidents at Sale and South Avenue.
That would be
I can
useful.
try and get it.
I'll
I'll put a request, I have to get that from PennDOT though, and,
I think.
So
It all
the
depends
line
on
of
how
sight is
quick I can
restricted,
get
it's not materialized as accidents.
yeah, I can, and I can just get a summary for it.
This North Avenue,
If
that is how part of Lansing is very dangerous, even left and right. So I understand when you take a left, there's a lot of bushes and trees and stuff like that. And then they also have that sign. So I mean, my takeaway from what Joe O'Brien was saying is I think we need to make a decision. We have to put reasons why we made our decision. Because there's potential liability on any decision we make. There's really no good choice. So I don't know if the Joe, but I mean, that's.
Well, if we make a decision to approve it, we're making it in the idea of safety for the residents and
It's a recommendation from
traffic-
PennDOT.
the traffic public.
So-
Joe said it has to be reasoned.
Along with PennDOT's
Yeah.
recommendation that we do it that way. So we're following the recommendation of PennDOT.
Yeah,
If there's only 11 cars, did you say 11 cars?
11 crashes.
And no, not crashes, using.
20
Maple.
cars in 2 hours. is
I'm
every
talking
2 seconds.
about the cars going down Maple. You know,
Oh, no, we didn't talk about the number of
Nobody
cars on
did that.
Maple.
well,
Only
let
Lansdowne.
me just an idea. Maple is only 1 block away from Lansdowne. I think maybe for safety's sake, it would behoove the residents to just drive over 1 block and then use the light on Maple.
They can't get there.
You
They
can't
can't.
get there.
They can't get there from Lansdowne, Frank.
Okay, then
It's
let's
just
go
turning
back.
into South Ave.
We'll have to make a
Go all
road.
the way up the hill.
Oh, yeah.
Landmark
They have to go
over
to
there.
There's no turn-offs on Lansdowne?
No, they have to go up to South Abington,
Oh, okay.
Lansdowne to
There-
direct
there's-
that direction.
That
There's
goes to
only,
show you how much I know about Lansdowne.
I know, but it is, I mean, it's 3 blocks.
3 blocks.
Yeah,
And they would turn right and then turn down Maple?
right.
Dave, if I'm not mistaken, I think Joel was suggesting that if you vote a certain way, you have to have reasons, there has to be reason.
Well, yeah,
Right.
well, and
In the event of a
that's
lawsuit.
what I said, Harry. I said if we voted to do the no left turn,
Right.
we're following PennDOT's recommendation.
Right.
And we're also doing it for the benefit of the residents and keeping safety in mind.
Well, yeah, that could be.
And, I think with Joe there, I don't really think the wordage needs to be a heck of a lot more than
No,
that because
Is
we're
PennDOT
following the recommendation of PennDOT.
thoroughly
Yeah.
aware of the situation at the top of the hill? That's what I'm
don't-
concerned
I don't
about. There
think
might
that's-
be an.
No,
issue.
but I think Josh is the one who summarized it, you know, we need to address each one.
I do think it would be very useful, I think, to collect that data on the number of accidents turning right
I'll do my best. From I'm
Lansdowne.
at the mercy of PennDOT.
Because if it's a dramatically lower volume than the number of accidents turning left off of Lansdowne. I think I won't speak for anybody else, I could reasonably surmise that directing more traffic there is a lower risk than what we have today.
But I think, yeah, I don't think we just don't want to box ourselves into a situation.
But if we could get an appointment with the state to sit down with them, do you think we should move in that
I would think,
direction?
I think that's the way to go.
And let's have all the facts on everything.
Get all the information,
Exactly.
make a decision on the
And
basis.
that gives us, that we're in a position where we're trying to make this work for everyone involved, so.
I would still like to move this forward for a vote next week in the offering of expediency.
It could be put on the agenda. I mean, if people, you want to make a motion and make, but I would recommend that you get all the information before you make a decision. If you make the wrong
Yeah.
decision, then you get to And that's lawyer me right there, so.
No, that's where I feel
You
uncomfortable.
rush it?
I
You make a
understand
mistake?
the rush and I understand the
I would
danger
rush off.
factor, but like information first before making a
Well, the
decision.
problem is, if we don't take action and there is an accident, then you know what? We're on the hook.
Yeah, but we're working on it, David, but it's not like we're doing anything.
I'm
about
sure
it.
I'm sure the lawyers would love to hear that, Jerry.
That's-
We're working on it. Yeah, but you've been working on it for how long? We've known about this for probably easy 6 months. And we haven't taken any action as of yet. So, fine.
All right,
We'll move forward to see if we can arrange.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming
See
in.
the mess you created?
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your comments. Drive safe.
I'll get some more information for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay.
Bob knows too that we're gonna see if we can set an appointment up with the state.
Okay.
And go over all our, well, like this, Bob Shields said, we'd have all our information, facts and everything for them and see what decision they feel we should take in there.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
All righty, thanks. Sue. Take care.
Thank you.
So we're not voting on.
Well, we can't.
Well,
We can't vote tonight.
We're gonna, no, we're not voting tonight.
Oh,
It's still on the agenda for
Yeah.
next week. So what we do, we can table it, we can vote whatever motions are made and passed.
Okay. I think that would be a good direction. The next item, we have.
Greg goes out.
Yeah, Greg Kozar, not Mark Spatz.
Mark's fast, but I was trying to make.
Something like that.
It's much smarter.
No, have yourself there, sir.
Greg does not live in the next Sunday road, so. He has no dog in the fight.
But there was a letter about a trash that I was concerned about. Just kidding, I'm just kidding. First of all, welcome, or thank you everyone for, I'm glad to be here. My name is Greg Kozar. I'm your Abington Joint Rec Board representative. I've lived in Clark Summit for 26 years. And I think we're doing some great work over there. Just want to give you a feel for how our year went, where we're looking towards the future, and just even down the road a little further, some things to consider. Being part of the community that runs that really owns the park. So I guess I'll start, and then if you have any questions, obviously feel free to fire at me. The park this year, I think, was in great shape. I don't know if you all had a chance to get out there. It was really well maintained. We corrected some issues. Our bathrooms were clean. Park had a ton of usage. And with the ton of usage came some issues just with our budget. And so we are just slightly below budget this year. We are doing the best we can to stay on budget, and we'll be asking for a 5% increase to the fees that you pay to the Abington Joint Rec Board. I can stop there, I can start there. It's up to you all.
So what are other municipalities paying? What percentage are they? You're asking for 5% increase?
Across the board and from our partners. So we do partner with some soccer, we do partner with softball, and we do partner with football.
Right.
So across the board, they all give donations to one word. They contribute towards the park, and we're asking 5% across the board.
How about the other municipalities?
That's what he
Everyone.
said. Everybody.
Everyone.
So,
Everyone's increasing by 5%.
We're asking for that for 2024.
and the proportions are based on population.
Yes.
Right.
So that being said, we are also going, as we look forward to 2025, we like to look forward. I will just want to make you all aware that we are going to be asking for a 7 to 10% increase going after that fact. Just our budget, the park usage, our budget's inflation, we all feel it. I just want you folks to be aware of what will be coming down in the next year or two.
Do you go for increases for the people that use the facilities?
I'm sorry, what was the first part?
Do you go for increases with the people who use the facilities as well?
Yes.
Like, you're saying 7 to 10 in 2 years.
Yes,
Do you go to whoever uses the football field?
football, soccer,
Same.
and softball are our main partners right now.
Okay, and they also,
Yes.
okay,
And actually, to your point, Dave, you all know I'm also on the AHRB representing Clark Summit. And the thing that I primarily do is I manage the fields. We're probably going to increase the rental fees. Now, that's different than the partner fees Greg is speaking about.
okay,
But the rental fees that non-partners pay, they're probably gonna go up by 50% this year.
okay,
Because they're low and we need to drive more revenue.
right, okay, all right. Okay, but I guess what I'm getting at is where the need is, you're looking to raise those
And
fees on.
in my opinion,
Pretty much across the board.
Okay,
I think that's what you were alluding to.
well,
And we want, we're very conscious of that.
what I wanna probably get to was the fact that it's not fair for the residents of the supporting boroughs and townships. Okay, like, maybe there's a certain number, X number that go there and make use of the facilities and everything, but there's more people from, say, out of town who play baseball, football, handball, pickleball, whatever ball, okay? And do they also share in the expenses?
I might push back a little bit on that. I don't know, you're talking about out of town, the regular users are pretty much our partners.
Okay,
So the soccer residents.
like Josh is saying about the rental fees for the fields.
Right.
those
And-
tend to be
you know,
small
like-
towners, but they pay a healthy rate now, but it's gonna go
Okay.
up dramatically.
But we're talking out of town, so we're also talking Scranton, like places that don't have the facilities that we do.
Okay,
Right.
yeah,
In actuality, I'm a resident of Clark Summit, obviously. My kids play soccer, they play
Right.
softball. Part of my registration fees for those organizations in turn are made as contributions to the park. I actually pay double.
Yeah.
In that
Oh,
sense, to
yeah.
use the park,
Mhm.
because I pay in my taxes and I pay fees toward the organizations that are members of the
Right.
park.
I think what David's getting at is if, say you're a senior citizen, you don't have kids, you don't have grandkids, your
Sure.
children are using this. I mean, what exactly is the whole purpose? Is all the fields, right? I mean, is the
It's more than
pond,
the fields.
the pond, and then there's like, I know there's like a garden
There's
across.
a
the
beautiful,
way.
there's a really nice walking trail that,
Yeah.
you know, you don't see many kids on the walking trail. It's
Right.
usually adults, it's usually older
Exactly.
people that are
Right.
trying to get some exercise
Right.
that's safe. And our job is to keep it safe.
right,
I mean, there's a dog park that people use, there's hiking trails up beyond that, so
okay,
it's not just those.
Concerts
And we-
in the summer.
Concerts.
We actually have very
Yeah.
minimal recreational facilities in this borough. The park is our
Yep.
primary
Yep.
recreational facility, and it contributes to all of our home values, having a
Right.
facility like that.
In the 20 years I've been here, the difference in that park, when
Oh.
I started here, it was
Yeah.
fenced in, overgrown and dark.
Wow.
And now it is this beautiful facility that
It is.
people come from near and far to use because it's so nice.
And it
Walk
is,
paths, I see, if it's daylight, there's people walking.
and it is, in my personal opinion, it is dramatically underfunded by the municipalities for what it has become. And that's really, I think, what the budget situation is.
how many
Is
acres are we looking
basically
at out
us.
there?
That
The-
is 14?
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
that's
no,
all,
it's-
Actually don't know.
No, I think,
Is it more than that?
yeah, wasn't there a
Maybe it's
50 acres
25. I think it's
total?
I'm sorry.
or is it 1,400?
Well, it's both sides of the road, so I think it,
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good point.
oh,
I'm
yeah,
actually, I'm honestly not sure.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
feel like it was 50 acres that, the total amount. Now, maybe
50?
not all maybe used, but
50?
I believe so.
Well, even
I haven't
that's
talked about that
lower
in
than what
ages,
I-
but yeah.
I was thinking it was like maybe 200 to 300 acres of land, because you are on both sides of the road.
Right, I forgot about
And,
that.
and
I
you
think
do
it might
go
be
up to where the houses are.
Right,
Okay,
Well, it's Clark Summit, South Abington, Clark's Green,
yes.
Waverly,
Waverly and Glenbrook.
and Glenwood. Okay, so there are other municipalities out there in the Abingtons that you haven't been able to work with.
I don't know if I would categorize it, we haven't been able to. I mean, we reach out to these communities on a regular basis. It's hard to convince a council to
Yep.
say, please give us X number of percentage per years, when right now you're not mandated to. So this project, this experiment that they came up with 23 years ago, because we're coming up for renewal, which is my third point. was those 5 communities that were involved and that were deeded that property as long as it's green space.
From the state.
So, I mean, Newton obviously takes huge advantage because we're knocking on their back door, and Ransom as well. I mean, and all those kids we're all Abington kids, we're all Abington people.
Right.
We all play the same sports, we're, you know, not the same sports, but we're together in our groups.
Yep.
It's unfortunate that those communities aren't participating, and I obviously I think they should. And that would probably help us short term, but again, the park is growing, it's doing well,
So there's no contribution from Newton or Ransom.
not to the state as far as I'm
There's
concerned.
no way to make it.
We've reached
Right.
out, we have reached out.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, there's only so much you can do. You know, like everybody's in the same boat. Their budgets are
very
Yeah.
tight, right,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm here to, amongst other things, I don't come regularly enough, I'm sorry, and I'll field some questions from you all, and I'll take it back to our board as well, so I can answer them to you.
that'll reflect on you too.
But, we have 5% we're requesting. We have a 7 to 10 that's gonna be coming down the road, and then in 2017, the original agreement does terminate. So. it'll be up-
2017?
I'm sorry, 27,
27.
pardon me.
Yeah.
2027, that agreement will terminate, and so we have to decide what you all want to do with that park. It's your land. So, we manage it, we do the best we can, but ultimately, you're gonna have to sit down with South Abington, Clark's Green, I think we forgot Clark's Green.
So you're like an independent authority, I guess? I mean, you have your own budget and everything, you just.
Yes, but we will report back to you all. So, you kind of give us the authority to run the park,
They
and
are,
we come back to you with,
they're appointed by you, by us.
Yep.
By
there's
council.
three representatives from every municipality.
Right.
And I want them. So, so just keep in mind, 2027 does come up. It sounds like it's far away, but it is gonna come up, and there's concern, not concerns. We just wanna make sure that we're ahead of it. So we can kind of hopefully make a nice transition. What you guys wanna do with this part?
I'm sorry, like, when you say transition, I mean, well, why would it stay a status quo? You think?
Yeah,
the
it could
municipalities
stay.
are-
It will need to be rechartered by the state.
Yeah.
Whether or not the basics of the charter change or not, who knows, but if the charter will come to a conclusion, it will need to be rechartered.
And I'm not aware if there's if nothing is done, it just stays as it is. I don't know if that provision is in there.
I'm not sure.
Who would know that answer?
I can find out. I'll find out and let Josh that email or when I find out.
There is not a,
But
there is not a solicitor for the park, but there are a number of attorneys that
Help us out.
that help us on a pro
Yeah.
bono basis today.
Yeah.
Which is great.
It may very well roll over.
You could?
Yeah.
I'll see if I can find that out.
That would certainly be easier.
Yeah, but for a year. It's gonna roll over 25 years or it's gonna roll over for a year. We have to see what
Okay.
that terminology looks like.
Okay.
So, well, that being said, I will field questions, comments, thoughts on the park or what you are looking for from us.
Keep up the bands in the summer. That's a great,
It's just one of those
a
alternative
great thing for
things,
people to go
Yes.
to.
Yes,
Is there ever consideration to do the band on like a Friday or Saturday? Only because I was a cheer coach and I know the traffic is quite insane.
and it's that time of the year, I think it's busy all the time, no matter
Yeah.
whether it's Friday or Saturday,
Mm.
but I can relay that to that committee, because we have committees that run
When
these
is it,
things.
Wednesday nights?
It is
Wednesday
Wednesday
nights, council nights, that's,
And
That's what we
sometimes there
miss.
was, and I know you can only control so much, but sometimes just to put in your ear, there were baseball games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
And
so,
Junior Comets is a big, big league. It's really grown
and
great.
to your point, though, we are working with our partners to find out, if they can reschedule certain things and avoid games on Wednesday nights or practices on Wednesday nights.
Mm.
Or
Yeah.
games than anything.
So it's just as busy on Friday and Saturday probably, right?
I don't know about Saturday, but I know Fridays, they play
Yeah.
5 nights a year.
Mm.
Right.
And part of the success of the park is all the effort that went in before I even got on this board. To maintain, building the field and putting the turf field in. Now the turf field needs replacement. So we're already trying to figure out what we have to do to replace this asset that we have. And that we're talking, Josh, you know more about this than me. We're looking at $600,000 to
Wow.
replace that field. And so we're leaning on our partners. we're
At the
leaning-
baseball field?
The turf field.
Where's the
The
turf?
middle field.
It's above the parking. lot.
Oh, okay, above,
So
okay. Oh, that's where they play soccer?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
soccer,
All right.
football, lacrosse.
Okay, yep,
softball.
okay.
I mean, everyone
Yeah.
has to turn on it.
Well, 600, huh? Wow.
So, we're looking.
Was
towards
that, is that real grass or is it astroturf?
That is artificial turf.
Oh,
And
I didn't
it's
know
ground
that.
up tire particles underneath it, right?
The chum is
Huh.
around it.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Well, the concerts were amazing, so I wasn't
Good.
saying negative. It was a great
I had nothing.
turnout every time.
Yeah.
It's good to hear. Thank
Yeah.
Lot of fun, and it's good for the people that are there selling food too. It's good publicity for them to get.
you. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's another positive where the different organizations come in and they do it for the month or 3 weeks or whatever they do it for. I think that's a real big shot.
It's just great to have people getting together and
Yeah.
and kind of enjoying themselves in a great setting, because
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
most spectacular sunset.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And
They don't get any better than that.
Our state representative,
Yeah.
there may be grants out there that they could maybe look into for you.
So we have a grant writer part-time,
Oh, good.
so
Okay.
we are actively looking for anything we can get, and we get
Good.
denied a lot, obviously, but we are always looking to make the playgrounds better. What can we do for the parking lots? What can we do to, make it safer and better?
Right.
The road getting up there is a little rough, and
Yep.
that's not ours, or your responsibility.
Yep.
No,
Take something
yeah.
off your plate.
If I'm correct, the garden pays for itself, right, in their rental fees?
Yes.
Yeah, so at least it's not costing anybody other than the
No.
gardeners.
Right.
Good, that's great.
Sure.
Any other thoughts or questions I can relay back other than Dave's point about the 2027?
Handling of the snow situation up there for the winter, is that all pretty much under control now?
I think it's under control. I think we got caught a little bit. Quite honestly, when we took on a couple other projects, one of them being the community center, and so that kind of split us up a little bit. I do know that we are lined up for that.
I heard some rumblings in the woods, and I just wanted to make sure that, South Abington and Clark Summit were on board with the ability to do whatever we need to do.
Well, I mean,
Keep the roadways.
you might remember I raised that probably two to three winters ago. If we could contribute to the plowing of the community center, and at that time, there was not a comfort level that we could commit our trucks to do that. The park, that's a huge variable cost that the park basically has some risk associated with, because we right now do contract that out. It has to be plowed by 7 AM because
Yep.
the area agency on aging is a tenant.
Yep.
And they have to be able to get in there to put their programming on. So
Okay.
we don't really have the flexibility to say, get to it when you get to it.
Yep.
It has to be done by a certain time in the morning and we have to pay for that.
Yeah.
I would love it if we could say,
Yeah.
the borough could commit to getting that
But
plowed.
unfortunately, that timeframe is what makes it impossible for
Yeah.
us. Because we have that same obligation to our residents on our roads. And so they've got to put priority here.
School buses that pick up kids.
But that's one of those cost factors that
Right.
drives
Yes,
some of the
absolutely.
budget concerns that we have.
I got off easy.
Thank you.
Got off easy.
You did it.
We're gonna write this
Yeah,
down.
it took an hour of your time. You'll never get back.
I think it's been extended to y'all. We're having a holiday party on the 9th of December, at the community center. If you have not responded, please just let us know.
Don't people have Christmas parties anymore?
We do.
Yeah, at the community center.
Holiday.
Holiday party.
I'm trying to
I see what you-
correct.
Right, exactly.
But that being said though, so I hope you all can come up. Please let us know, or Josh know you can come, just because we're fantastic. It was great to see everyone. Again, extend the invitation and hope to hear back from you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Greg.
The update, I appreciate that.
Number two.
I still didn't get down the shore to play golf either.
Come on down. We're open tomorrow. I will make you a tea time.
Really? You're open tomorrow, huh?
Have a nice night, guys.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
The next item on our agenda is the ordinance 2023-02 on trash ordinance.
Basically, the trash ordinance, the quality of life ordinance, the millage sewer and fire ordinances have all been advertised and are scheduled for public hearing at 7 o'clock next Wednesday, prior to the ability for us to vote on any of those at that time. So, millage, sewer and fire are standard operating procedure. We do the same thing each year, just reinforcing. Sewer staying the same, millage is staying the same, fire is staying the same. So there's no tax increases. So there's really, that's what you're voting on. And the quality of life is, again, that's just a tougher version of what we have already. And I think we've discussed it.
Yeah.
Trash ordinance we went through, and we have to get that passed
Raise the fines a little bit.
before we start doing the trash. Yeah.
I move that we put it on the agenda for. Next Wednesday.
Okay, the next one is our civil service exam.
The deadline for, signing up for the written test is Friday. The written test will be on, December 16th. We have 3 applicants, 2 which are current part-time employees. And the 3rd is somebody that actually put in an application for part-time as well.
Oh,
But
okay.
there's only 3 people applying.
There's only 3 people applying so far.
Well, it's more than we have on the list right now, so.
That's
That's true.
right, exactly.
That is true.
That's great.
And the two that work for us are both really good guys. So, you know, they're
Part-timers?
2 part-timers that work for us that are on the list. They're good guys. They, you know, if we needed to move them up, Trey and
Oh.
Lucas.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Is that on here? Am I looking at the right paper?
What,
What we just said?
civil service?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about the 5th dot down. 5th one down.
Oh, I'm down to 4.
Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
Okay,
Okay. How much is the civil service exam gonna cost us?
well, the exam itself is not gonna cost us anything because we charge the applicant $75 and we're only paying for the tests that are taken.
Oh, okay.
So
good.
that is good.
Oh.
It's the ad
Yeah,
I haven't gotten the bill yet for the ad, but that's probably gonna be about $300.
Yeah.
And then we have to move on and do the oral exam and so forth.
don't we have to have a proctor there too for the test?
Yes, I'm
And-
sorry,
and don't we have
but
to
that's
pay for
still
that?
the $75.
Is that
That's
wrapped in there?
150 for the proctor, but I think that 75 would,
Oh.
with the 3, I think
We'll
we'll cover
cover
that
it.
too.
Oh,
Or
okay.
it's pretty, I don't think we're really losing money
Yeah,
until we move to not counting the advertising.
Yeah.
And when we get to the orals, there's gonna be more cost involved.
okay. All right, okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. The next item is the $17,000 rebate.
Yeah, we had,
Can we put that in the fund that we had initially talked about putting it in?
that had been in the, discussion a couple of months ago, tabled until tonight, so.
Right, this was I think there was some suggestions of putting it in the
Capital
capital.
reserves.
Capital reserves.
Yeah,
But we've had a lot of unexpected expenses considering the storm in September, all the other increases in costs, inflation. So
Well-
where do we stand with our
For budget,
budget?
I did send the finance committee year through at the end of October, last week, I think it was. We're good. We're not great, but we're good. We're ahead of budget.
We
Um,
can put this in at any time though, right, Virginia?
Right.
Wait to see how we end up the year. we never know what's gonna happen between.
You guys can put that money in or not, or whenever, or however, that's your call, not mine, you know.
I'd like to move that number forward for a vote for next week, that we put it into capital.
Leave it on the
reserves,
agenda for next week.
Please. Because if we're not in bad shape for the budget, then there's really no reason that we need to put that in the general fund. We can put that in capital reserves, and then if we have something that we need, then we'll find a way, I'm sure, to get that out for usage. But rather than just put it in there because I think that's a waste of $17,169.08 of a rebate that we're probably not gonna get too many more times.
What's the benefit of putting it in capital reserves as compared to just the operating? Do we get more interest or something on a capital reserves account?
No,
It restricts us. We
it
can,
restricts us in that, yes.
so we lose the
can only be
flexibility.
used
It can only
right.
be used for things that we're
For
gonna have.
capital
So
expenditures.
no
as opposed to
payroll,
operating.
no
Right.
damages to property, nothing.
You can't just frivolously use it.
When it first came up, I thought one mentioned the concern of some sort
Yeah.
of, right? But I don't remember what you said, Bob. I don't remember.
Capital reserves, it's meant to be, you can only use it for uncertain things. It's restricted on what you can use. it
Capital
for.
expenditures, major buying trucks,
Right.
we can spend it on. Payroll, we cannot. It's that, but purchasing an asset is what capital reserves is.
And if it's an
You
operating-
gave good reason of
Yeah.
not to rush to put it in, and I don't remember what you
Yeah,
had mentioned.
if it's an operating, there's no restrictions on it.
Right.
And we've had some unexpected expenses come up, particularly with the storm and the fact I don't think we're gonna get reimbursed. So I don't know what those bills may come due and payable. There may be other.
Maybe
unexpected-
that's what you had mentioned, okay.
Sure.
We've had the check for like 120 days now, right?
I think it's in the operating now, isn't it?
When the check arrived, it was deposited in the general fund.
Yes.
So, yeah, we've had it for a couple of months, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we know now that we're not really gonna get crushed with anything, like Bob said, with the storm. We would have seen bills come in by now. It's like 2 months. I'm sure we would have seen any major bills that we would have incurred rather, and we haven't had that yet, so I don't see any reason why we can't put it in the capital reserves and build that fund up for when, God forbid, we need a new truck and the truck dies in the middle of plowing season, we need to get one yesterday or whatever.
Okay, we'll have it on the agenda for next week. On the agenda.
Thank you.
And then our 2024 budget.
You all got a copy of that earlier in the month, and we have to vote to approve those and then follow up with the ordinances that they all then will be applied.
Okay, did you want us to meet on that one more time before? The
The
finance
budget,
committee?
they've already been
budget.
advertised,
Right, okay. Good
yeah,
enough, then we're all settled.
and they're on the website.
Good, okay. And then, of course, our village sewer and fire, that's already covered.
Right.
That's taken care of. And our contract for Virginia Kehoe, we've gone over this. And also for Jim Vasalega.
And you all have a copy of it
We
in
have
your
a copy
packet.
of that, and we'll be ready to vote on that next week on Virginia. For both contracts.
If you guys are ready for it, yeah, I mean, if the contract is there, if you guys are comfortable with it.
And then the other is the resolution for our police pension holding, which has stayed the same, so.
Every year we just have to pass a new resolution, just indicating what amount the police are gonna contribute to the pension. And it's
Right.
5.5%, which for the record is above their maximum obligation.
Right, yeah.
They have to contribute between 2% and 5%. The fact that they're giving 5.5 is, I think,
Oh,
great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah,
that's very considerate.
yeah.
Okay, well, that covers everything. And we want to thank Attorney Joe O'Brien for attending our meeting tonight.
All right,
It's a pleasure having you and.
Joe, we didn't put you to sleep, did we?
Is that?
Oh, he's muted.
Oh.
Or do we want to-
You're muted. I think.
There's no volume.
I didn't mute him. He's got it on mute.
Yeah,
I
that's.
can't do. Joe, you
I
have
look
mute.
forward to seeing you next Wednesday.
He turned it off.
Okay. If we want to, just an update on rent, real quick.
Yeah.
They met tonight, but apparently it was only a work session. Chris texted me and said that they're Monday, they have a meeting, they will vote on it Monday. They did not give him any clues. But earlier in the day, we had kind of been hinted that,
He thought
It's
they were
gonna be a
gonna
go.
accept it.
So just to follow up, though, we had some further discussions with Ransom about doing a police contract.
Right.
We're still live. If you-
Well, this is public.
I think that's okay.
Okay.
it's gonna be a public vote,
Okay.
so.
So they were receptive and we discussed some terms and
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
Right, and they were in favor of the terms that we were recommending also, so.
Yeah.
The borough is protected very much on it, so we're happy to move forward if they accept.
So next, I guess Monday, they'll make a decision if they want to move forward with it, and then Wednesday, we have to make a decision if we want to move forward with it.
Exactly, so it's a good time.
If we get an answer from them on Monday, then we'll put it on our agenda, add it to the agenda,
Okay,
for Wednesday, yes.
good, okay.
Will we go into executive session or not
It's up to you guys, I don't.
for the,
I don't think we should need
I don't know if
to.
it's a personnel matter or
I'm
something
just
like
finding
that.
out some of this stuff now, so,
Well,
and not in
The
the
terms
loop.
of, the contract, there, 7 people have to vote on, so they have a right to know the terms. And I think Dave is asking, would we discuss the contract terms in executive session
Correct.
before we, to make sure
Vote on it.
everybody was on board before.
Well, I don't know that we're gonna have, I think we're gonna, I don't know, I guess I don't know what motion exactly we'll be able to vote on next week, but we will not have a contract that we
Right.
can vote on.
We want to have a final
Instead,
document
it'll be authorizing our solicitor to draft a contract.
based on.
Based on the terms that we've negotiated. And the term, I mean, we can talk about it now, the terms that we've presented to them for them to accept or not are basically, we will bill them at our cost plus a 15% margin. So that we are fully covering our costs, it's not costing our taxpayers a dime.
Right,
And we will have an administrative fee that returns to us roughly $20,000 a year, to make it worth our while.
And how about vehicles? Are they going to?
We'll be billing them, mileage
right,
to cover vehicle utilization,
right.
of our vehicles and at a later
Until and
time.
unless. they
Will there
buy
be
the-
one vehicle specifically
No.
for that area?
No, nothing's designated for them, but they can
Unless
buy
they
it.
buy
They could buy their own.
Till then, they're whatever the
These, I think
rotation.
these would be some of the contingencies that we'll need to write into the contract. What happens if, they did wanna, purchase their own vehicle? How would that work? Those are some of the details we'll have to get into.
And Chief Yarns is sort of the point person on this one, so if you feel free to reach out to him, and he might be able.
Well, I don't wanna step on any
No, you can,
toes by,
if we vote on
by
it next
inquiring.
Wednesday, then.
yeah, well, then it's
Then it's
for
all-
public.
Yep,
public
absolutely.
information. But I didn't know how much everybody else knew. I
Yeah.
just
No,
found out some of it tonight.
It's just all negotiations right now, but
Right.
the bottom line is we're not gonna, the taxpayers of Clarksville aren't gonna be financing Ransom's police department or police services.
And it's definitely gonna be actual costs plus an admin fee.
Okay, so we're making sure we're no chance we're gonna get.
All right,
Okay, and if you want to review our December's meeting.
We'll have a very large group of Cub Scouts here next week, so we may need extra chairs out here.
Yep, I'll be
That's what we
ready.
have now.
Okay.
Just be forewarned.
Yeah.
They're so cute.
yeah.
Are we good to adjourn, Virginia?
We've covered everything I need you to talk about.
Sounds good.
Okay, we've got a first, second, third, a fourth, and a fifth.
Joe, thank you. We're disconnecting now. Have a great day.
Okay, I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me. I'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank
All
you.
right, bye.
Thank you.